How's it going, everyone? Welcome into the Grip Lock preview for the Texas State Disc Golf Championship. We're super excited to be back talking about some Disc Golf Pro Tour action. We had not really a break, just break for MPO last week with some major disc golf. Mm-hmm. The FPO played the United States Women's Disc Golf Championship also in Texas. This is also the last event of the Texas Swing.
I know. And it has felt pretty considerable.
It's been a month.
Yeah,
the whole month of March we've been in Texas. This is the fourth Texas event.
What do we head to MCO or Jonesboro next?
I believe Jonesboro.
Next. So it's like we get way out and out of Texas.
Well, yeah.
After the Texas Swing.
To be honest with you, when I was looking at this course and I was watching the flyovers and stuff, kind of reminded me of the Jonesboro course a little bit.
There's similarities.
Basically, it's open and there's some trees around.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, in that way, it also reminds me of the MCO course a little bit.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But this course does look like a good time to me. It looks like, I don't know how necessarily well it films, but it looks like I would really enjoy playing it.
I thought that, so yes, when I watched the front nine of the course, because this is, looking at the caddy book, it appears to be almost exactly the same, maybe a few distance changes that are very slight, but pretty much the same course. I was watching the front nine and I had the similar thought of like, I think this course probably gets misunderstood because it's not super appealing to the eye. It, you're looking at like a grassy setting, not super well manicured grass, and then just trees basically. It's not really in the woods. But I was like, the design of these holes, like there's a couple early par threes that were really neat, some well-placed par fours. And I was like, okay, this course looks like a good time, probably misunderstood because it doesn't look too flashy. Back nine, slowly my opinion started to change because the holes got a little more repetitive on the back nine. I started kind of seeing similar things over and over again and a little bit more boring par threes. So I was not, and like the finishing couple holes isn't that great. I mean, the last hole is kind of scenic, but it's pretty simple. It's basically a spike hyzer. My opinion is like, I do think that it does demand a variety of shots, which I like. I would say the most consistent theme of the course is low ceiling, a lot of low ceiling golf, a lot of, you need to play skip shots on a lot of different holes. You got to score on the par threes. The par threes seem pretty easy once you got past the first couple of them. But I think one of the biggest challenges of this course is because it's not super visually appealing, you're going to deal with the fact that it's not memorable.
Yeah.
I just consumed the entire course before sitting on the show so I could remember it from last year. But going year to year, it's very tough to be like, remember hole 17. Like I was lacking that signature hole just from looking at it at face value, missing that feature of the land that was going to make it memorable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because we are, one of my favorite styles of courses to play is the Lake Park style course.
Yeah.
So that's where, but again, it's hard, like you're saying, kind of all blends together.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of doesn't film that well, but that doesn't mean like, I think it'll play well, and I think historically it does. Now, when we have some stats here, but some of these stats are a little bit tough to digest because historically it was at a different park, right?
It's been a few different layouts
when
at
it
that
came
park.
to this new park, Brock Park, silver event. So field strength wasn't as strong. With that being said, at 2023, it was the 7th hardest course. But again, a little bit skewed because that was silver event field.
Also,
so it averaged 2.3 under par, 2.3 strokes under par.
That was another thing I noticed. There were guys that struggled last year, but I think the wind played a huge role.
Yeah.
I think that if the wind is down, there's scoring potential to be very high.
Yeah. Now, looking at this, it's
very low, I should say.
It's the 5th longest course on the average feet per par stroke out here. Again, being a more open course does make sense. Coming in at 159 feet per par stroke out there. I believe it comes in at a par 63, if I'm not mistaken.
What's interesting, too, about the par stroke thing is, like, the par threes are actually on the shorter side. You have a lot of par threes that are around 300 feet and under 400, but the par fours and fives, they take advantage of some of the more open parts of the course, and you're going to see 800 plus foot par fours. There's an 1,100 foot par five. So they do take advantage of stretches like that. And that's where the course gets a lot of his length. And so that's why this course is interesting, because you do see a lot of the longer throwers will get advantages, pretty significant advantages on holes like that. But then there's so many par threes that are scoreable that anybody can reach. So it just kind of depends on, you might have some guys scoring on completely different parts of the course than others.
Yeah, I just took a look at the weather. That's what I was looking at on my phone, and looks like a pretty good weekend. Wind isn't going to be that much of a factor. Yeah. Doesn't look like a chance of rain. So I think it will play pretty scoreable.
I could see it with no wind. I could see low scoring separation, big shootout. And there's OB out there, but and a lot of it really tightens up on the greens. But I don't feel like if the wind is up that it's going to be enough to stop a lot of players, getting what we've seen this year, basically. I don't think it's going to be the course to stop the streak where we're seeing the final round come and there's 10 people that can win.
It could be this could be the first time there's a third card winner.
Could be.
Who knows? Now, going into some of the storylines, specifically looking at MPO, always a big storyline for Texas State is Ricky Wysocki's dominance of this event. But again, that was at a different course. Mm-hmm. How much do you think that feeling of dominance, that feeling of he owns this event, he owns this area, is going to roll over into a new course?
I think it will to some extent. Obviously, you have to, when it's a brand new course, you have to throw the state aside to some degree. Yes, it is Texas golf, but it's very different than from what other Texas golf can even look like. I think that if you even hear him talk about Texas State, he's very confident. He feels like he owns that event. He should. He's won it 6 times. So I think that a guy like Rick feeds off that energy. I think he's going into this event really feeling like it's his to lose, like it's his event. And that being said, even though it is at a new course, I think there's a lot of low ceiling forehand approaches on the course. I think it does benefit a guy who can throw a force over turnover backhand. There's quite a few of those. So I do think it fits his play style. This course is not necessarily going to offer a ton of hyzers. Like I said, there's a reason why, some of the guys who were better in the wind last year did well at this course, not just because they can throw the force over backhand when there's wind, but because they can throw it on turnover lines as well. So I do think his game fits this course, just like it fits most. But I think his confidence level isn't going to change with it being at a new course, but I do think you have to put that a little bit into consideration. You can't just hand it to him.
Yeah, no, Ricky, this course definitely fits Ricky, because it'd be one thing if he was coming into this with a lot of confidence and was going to a course that just wasn't his play style, which there's not many of those that exist for Ricky.
Right.
But no, I think the course fits him. And one of it used to be a meme. He doesn't really talk about it nearly as much, but he has always been Mr. Momentum.
Yeah.
So he has always been a big momentum guy. So I feel like he's coming into this event with already a full head of steam in his head, to where I think he's a very, if he's confident and he's feeling good, he's going to play well.
Yeah.
I mean, Ricky Wysocki plays well. It's hard for someone to stop him.
He also had a week off, so he's going to be fresh.
That's true, too. 2 weeks off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, I definitely like Ricky this weekend. I definitely think that this is a weekend that he could make some noise. This course looks like it was built for Calvin Heimburg, another player who I think he took it down last year. Mm-hmm. Do you think this will be where he picks up his first win of the year?
I think really as we line up the next quite a few events, I think all of them fit that bill. If you weren't to pick it up here, I would say Jonesboro. And if you weren't to pick it up there, I would say MCO, because the problem is he has such a good history at every single course. So, you start doing your analysis and you go, okay, what happened last year? Well, there's Calvin. Guess what? He's going to be in the top 3 most of the time. So, I think, it's a matter of when for him, not if, when he's going to get that win this season. And I do think he has a great chance at this course. Although I will say, he was able to create a lot of separation last year. It was a weaker field. There was some wind. I think that anybody that wins is going to have to fend off a lot of people. And Calvin, sometimes when he gets in a big grouping, we've seen him lose that tournament, a few times. So I think that it's going to depend what kind of Calvin are we going to see on the final day when he gets thrown into a corral. Because I feel like lately what I've seen out of him is he's a little too late to the party. I think that's what I've seen a couple times out of him, where he needs to stay up at the top of the pack for a little bit longer, so that when everything starts shaping out on that final day, he's in a better position, because he's made some good pushes, but hasn't quite been. It's been a little too late. So I'm thinking that that's going to be the key for him is staying a little bit closer to the top of the leaderboard, because I think if he enters the final day, especially in the lead, he's certainly going to win the event.
Yeah, it's looking at who's going to win this event. Obviously, it definitely could be Calvin, but I think that there's kind of a pool of like 5 to 10 guys right now that if they get going, they could win, and it's just a coin flip as to which one's going to do it this weekend. So I do like him at either here or Jonesboro. I think one of these two events is his, but he's got to show up for it, because, I mean, I really liked him at chess.com, and obviously that didn't go well, but then he bounced right back, and I think he came in, was it third at Open at Austin, something like that?
He's picking things up.
So he took that week off at Waco with a little bit of an injury, and it seems like he's fully back and fully Calvin. Yeah. So
he had a good performance, then he got a week off. So, yeah. You got to expect it.
So I like him. All signs point to great performance this weekend, but this field this year is so tough to win in that it doesn't really matter. I definitely think that he has one of the best chances to win, if not the best chance to win. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I think either this event or Jonesboro, one of those two, I think is going to be it for Calvin. Now, a player who hasn't had the same storyline, almost the opposite storyline actually, is Isaac Robinson. Back-to-back rough performances, back-to-back finishes outside the top 25 for our current world champion. What do you think of him out at this course?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely the one to watch right now because of all the players that came into the season with really high expectations. There are some guys, if you want to cement yourself as one of the consistent guys in the sport, one of the very top names on a platform with a guy like Calvin, you have to play week to week really good golf. And it's very hard to do. Not many can. I think Isaac last year was trying to cement his identity as a player like that. I think that's the reason he wasn't able to win Player of the Year, is because he lacked the consistency throughout the season. And I think this year has been a rough start to trying to do that again this moving forward. So I think that there's probably some weight on his shoulders right now. Like I said, last season he wins 2 majors. That kind of shaped his resume for the season. He played fine throughout, but those were definitely the exclamation points. And I'm sure he wants to be playing more consistent golf. Whenever you can arrive at the top of the leaderboard, in the big moments like at majors, you probably feel like you should be able to compete every single week for a win. And when you're not doing that, that probably is very concerning and frustrating. I do think, he's somebody who has never been great early in the season. I think last year, even when we would look back at his stats, we'd see those early hiccups. So I don't know, though. I don't know if this is the course, to answer your question. I don't know if this is the course where he's going to pick up that slack and really get the wheels turning. It may take a little bit longer this season. Certainly we start favoring him a lot as we get to some of those courses that are later in the year, courses that are a bit thicker woods. But I'm really hopeful that he will, because I miss seeing him competitive. It's always exciting watching him knock down circle putts, highlight reel for an entire event. So I'm just interested to see if he's going to make any adjustments to his game and try and maybe go into a tournament not thinking like, okay, maybe not, I'm not going to win this tournament maybe, but let me just get back into the top 20. Let me get back into the top 10. Try and just put down 3 solid rounds of golf and see where things fall. Because, sometimes when you're so desperate to get back to the winner's circle, you can try and force things. You can get really discouraged. I just want to see him play 3 solid rounds to where we can look at this tournament moving forward. And maybe even if he didn't win, just be like, all right, Isaac had a solid event. Maybe he's kind of finding his game again. That's what you need, just a little bit of confidence boost.
Now, for me, I'm willing to call this event a make or break for the pre-first major events, because if you look at it, we have Texas States, then we go Jonesboro, then we go Music City. And as we mentioned in the course preview, all kind of similar feels. And realistically, all kind of similar to this first half of the tour right now, this first opening quarter, if you will. they all kind of have similar vibes, realistically.
It's the throwers half of the tour. You get it, a lot of the big arms have success early in the tour. As we move back east, that is when you start talking about guys like Isaac Moore, talking about guys like Chris Dickerson. Matty O got his win at Maple Hill last year. So that's definitely true. That's what he's fighting.
So to me, I think obviously he had pressure coming into this year. I think that this event, if he has a really solid performance, then it could be solid performance, and then we're at Champions Cup, because I like him at Champions Cup. Going 4 rounds, Northwood Black, you got to like him there. But I think this event could be kind of a tipping point where he's either going to find himself in, I think the top 20 is kind of that cut. Like if he's inside the top 20 on these courses that he can historically perform good at, but they're not built for his game, I think that top 20 is kind of the tipping point to me, where if he's inside the top 20, then I think that he'll probably have some momentum now and be able to kind of have some good finishes at Jonesboro, Music City leading up to it. If not, I think that it could be just a rough start to the season, and then hopefully he pulls things together at Champions Cup.
And the good news is, now I do think there is a lot of forehand opportunity on this course, which doesn't suit him, but there is a lot of angle control, turnover, backhand type shots on this course. There's a lot of these shots, though having power matters. I wouldn't necessarily say they're landing zone holes, a lot of them, but they do need to be very specifically placed drives because of how many low-hanging branches there are. You can have a 450-foot drive turn into a 150-foot drive really quick. So, if you're just really locking in and throwing accurate tee shots and just putting them at the right height, right nose angle, and right angle, which is something he's very good at, you can get an edge on the rest of the field, because like I said, so many drives at this course are going to get knocked down early off the tee. So really just pushing forward is going to be huge. There's also a lot of shot selection that comes to it. A lot of the par 4s and 5s, you're going to see fairways with just kind of a scattering of trees. Plenty of openings, but a scattering of trees. And the course does do a pretty good job of keeping you in that mix. You're not going to see a lot of opportunities for guys to just go huge spike over and around things, but it gives them a ton of options, all with very valid gaps. And they have to decide at that point, which one to take. So I think there is enough elements for Isaac Robinson, a player like him, who's a smart player and has a lot of usable skills on a course like this. There's enough for him to make up what he might lack in other parts of his game.
Now, as we look at the kind of the storyline of the beginning of the season, it's been Team Discmania, right? You have Nicholas Antela, Gannon Burr, Kyle Klein. All of them have been in the top 10 multiple times, if I'm not mistaken. I think even at Open at Austin, all of them were in the top 10 together.
Yeah.
And I think even snuck in Casey White in there. Mm-hmm. Now, adding to those three, though, coming into this weekend, Alden Harris performed really well at this event last year. So who out of the Discmaniacs, we'll call them, out of the Discmania team, do we like the most coming into this course?
I like Gannon. Gannon and Kyle are probably the two that stick out for the most, but I really like Gannon. I like I said, loves to throw the disc on Anheuser. I think there's a lot of opportunity for the shots he can throw. He has a good force over forehand, which I think is going to be useful. It's easy to keep a forehand under the ceiling when you're forcing it over rather than trying to throw it flat. That's usually when you get the nose up. So I do like that. I think it's a lot of. Honestly, that's just something to consider too. Like the easiest way to throw a nose down is to throw on Anheuser. A lot of time, force over a disc because you're just dragging it down. And when you have so many low ceiling shots, that is a useful tool. So I do think that Gannon is probably my favorite out of that bunch. You wouldn't be insane to be going into every event right now just thinking, Gannon, Kyle, Nicholas, like that. Those three could be top 3 at any given point. They do have some other formidable players right now playing good golf, but they are certainly part of the initial charge at the beginning of the season of the guys who look like every single week they've got a good chance to win.
Yeah, no, I like all of their chances, and even throwing Alden and maybe even sneaking in Casey White, but really the main 3. But yeah, I think I gotta agree with the Gannon pick, just because I feel like a lot of times if I think a course is going to play well for Calvin, that typically means it's going to play well for Gannon too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's just my mind playing tricks on me where I just let Kyle continue to go under the radar.
Well, and the problem is, Gannon's just giving himself a chance to win at every single event right now. Like, and ultimately, I'm not sure that there's really maybe there might be a couple, but there's really not many players that are more talented than Gannon Buhr. And when he's giving himself a shot at every single event, you have to like him as your favorite.
Do you think that Nicholas coming off of a win, is that going to be good or bad for his performance?
I think it's big. I mean, I think we spoke about it when AB won earlier this season, but when you have a young player with big expectations and they get that first win, that is a weight of the world off their shoulders. So, I'd expect Nicholas moving forward to play solid golf. But, I mentioned this on debate night. The thing with Nicholas that we're kind of maybe looking for is some patches this season where he's playing really consistent golf over 3, 4, 5 events, constant top 10s, top 15s. I think of that bunch, we've seen Kyle rattle off stretches like that. We've certainly seen that at Gannon, Calvin, guys like that. I'm waiting to see Nicholas put a stretch together where put a stretch together long enough that going into a week of it, we're just thinking Nicholas can do no wrong right now. He's a lock for the top 3, or he's got to have a chance to win this weekend. Because there has been stretches with right now, AB's one of those guys. Calvin's always been one of those guys. Rick, where going into a week, you can pick him in your top 3, and yeah, he's going to have a chance to win this tournament. Nicholas, I'm not quite there with yet, but I'd like to see him continue working towards that, and it doesn't take long. If he can build off that win and put a couple really nice weeks together, then I think he'll be in that same boat because he's certainly talented enough. He put in a ton of work during the offseason, and he has every part of his game that he needs. Yeah,
for me, I think that it helps Nicholas that he had the week off last week. I think having U.S. Women's right there really helps him because we saw it. It was a very emotional moment when he won.
Yeah.
And having that really big emotional high and then having to go straight back into another tournament prep, I think can do one of two things to players where it can either really motivate them because like you're saying, now they're playing way more free, or it can kind of be a distraction because you go into the week kind of still focused on, I can't believe what just happened. You're riding that emotional high, and then your focus shifts to like, I need to do it again. Like, okay, the moment's over. Having that week to settle, soak it up, enjoy it, and refocus, I think that's going to play crucial to where I don't think that there's going to be really that much negative or positive repercussions to his win other than he doesn't have that strain of, I hope when is my first one coming? Yeah. So now, like having that week off, he's just going into this week, I think probably playing a little bit more free, but I don't think it's going to have a super big impact one way or the other. And like I said, he's also part of that group of guys that like, if we go into the predictions and someone picks Calvin, Rick, AB, Nicholas, Gannon, Kyle Klein, I'm sure there's like 3 or 4 other guys. You're not going to see a shocked look. Aaron Gossage, you're not going to see a shocked look on my face. Like he's just a part of that group that's like, yeah, I think they could win. Like in MPO right now, I think you just kind of read down the top like 15 guys, and you'd get the same reaction from me like, yeah, this could be his week. Yeah, this could be his week. Yeah. Like that's just where we're at right now, which is incredible. So I really like what he could do out here. I think he could play pretty well. Now, flipping over to the FPO side, let's throw it over to Jo to hear her opinions and breakdowns on the storyline.
Hi, everyone, and welcome into the FPO preview show for the Texas State Championships. It feels as if we have a smaller field this week for FPO, but I think that's because USWDGC just finished up and we had 100 players there. And this week for Texas State Championships, we will have 52 registrants at this event. We do have some notable names that will be missing from this event. We have no Paige Pierce, no Haley King, and no Ella Hansen. I believe that Paige Pierce is off to a music festival in Texas, and we have Haley King, who is potentially out due to her knee injury that she was talking about a couple weeks back. And then Ella Hansen is actually in New Zealand. Sayananda and Kristen Tatar battled it out at the Brock Park Disc Golf Course last year when this event was a 2023 Silver Series event. This year, this event has been upgraded to a Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series. And even though this was a Silver Series last year, it actually was pretty well attended. This was notably Sayananda's breakout tournament of her career. We got to witness her play style and a little bit more of her personality firsthand. She threw amazing, touchy turnovers. It was really incredible to see her making all those circle 2 putts under the amount of pressure that she was in. She won this event with Kristen Tatar in the field, and she also finished this event with a total of 3 strokes over Kristen. She ended up finishing her round with the circle 2 putt that was incredibly emotional and electric, and she didn't even need to make this putt to win. It was incredible. The back half of this course is full of backhand turnovers as well as sidearms. I think that this would really play well to someone who has both a forehand and a backhand, but it's not necessary because Saya Nanda won this tournament last year. She won it with just a backhand turnover. I also feel like a lefty could probably play pretty well here. I'm looking at you, Annika and Sten. A couple of players that played really well here last year were Ohn Scoggin, Kristen Tatar, Colin Hanley, and of course, our reigning champion here at this event, we have Saya Nanda. If you missed Ohn's ace last year on hole 2, it was really, really, really exciting and a little bit surprising. She didn't think that she had hit it, and then all of a sudden it just shocked her. So if you want to get hyped up for this event, go back and watch that from last year's coverage. Last year, we did have a few players that were missing from the field. We had Evelina and Henna, and I feel like, as we always say, if their putt is on, they could do really, really well at this event. I am a broken record. I'm going to say it again because I actually think they both could either podium finish or win this event. We also missed Valerie Manahano last year because she had an ankle injury and she was just recovering from that. Last week at USWDGC, she ended up taking 3rd place. Honestly, her backhand and her putts looked amazing. She was throwing all sorts of backhand turnovers all around that course last week at Sprinkle Valley, and I know that she could have a really big showing here. A few other players that I think that could do really well here at this event are Ali Smith, Kat Murch, Chantal Badinsky, and of course our FPO USWDGC champion, Big Money Missy. We will have to see if the momentum continues for Missy or if that win ends up being a little bit of a distraction or kind of gets her off her game because she's just so exhausted from all of the energy that she put into winning that last event. Can't wait to watch this event, and I hope you guys are too, and back to you guys.
All right. Thanks so much to Joe for breaking that down. I want to really touch on 4 players here. First off, the one kind of on everyone's mind every week with FPO, Kristen Tatar. Back-to-back performances, we'll say below her expectations because let's be real. I mean, I think she came in 2nd and 6th. It's not like she had complete meltdowns, but her expectation every week is win, basically, especially last week being a major. What are your thoughts on this start for Kristen and what it means for these upcoming tournaments?
I think it's early. I think the most concerning thing is not really where she's finishing, but that she's actually just not playing well. Because I think that there are times where, I would say there's more times where she wins and isn't playing well than when she plays well and doesn't win. I would say that's definitely the case. But it's not like she's playing solid disc golf and just getting beat out by somebody, because that really just doesn't happen. Like I said, I think I've just seen a lot of struggles from her out there on the course. So I think that's concerning, but only mildly at this point. It's still early in the season. She started the season basically the same way as last season. Losing the major is a little bit different. So we'll see how that can affect her confidence levels, because I think that's probably the biggest thing right now that's lacking is just her level of confidence. I'm sure it didn't feel great to lose after a 6 major streak. So yeah, I'm trying to keep an open book on it. I'm certainly not going to think anything crazy, but another bad tournament this week, maybe outside of the top 5 or something like that. And I think people are going to turn pretty quick, because it's just like when you're not playing clean golf out there and you got beat pretty bad, especially last week, I start to, those thoughts start to creep in, like, oh, maybe Kristen, I don't know. Maybe it's just like, maybe Missy Gannon is going to beat her a bunch this year. I don't know. I don't know.
It is important to note that she has cited like some neck and back pain as well as her ankles swelled up before the final day. And she also cited some stuff going on outside. There's a lot of citing. So it's tough to know how much of that is just like soreness or how much is possible injury and how much is I lost. Well, so this is what's going on.
Well, and, Brody made a really good point on debate night. He was saying that, Kristen is not really known for being an excuse poster on Instagram. There's plenty of them out there. But if you were feeling the pressure, if you were starting to feel the expectations that you were going to win every week, you'd be a whole lot more prone to a post like that than if you weren't. So maybe that is a sign that she's starting to feel it a little bit, that expectation is weighing. And, what's a player that this has happened to before? Not going to compare them directly, but like Paige Pierce, got really close to 1,000 rated.
Yeah.
It started to become the Paige Pierce show. And then that does weigh on you. And if you lose your mojo, if you lose that groove and that confidence, it can be very hard to get back because you are now on a downhill slide and you have to try and stop that backwards momentum. This is all very dramatic because she's literally she's like 1 for 4 on the season or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, this is the kind of narrative that may start to happen if things continue that way.
One guarantee is that Paige Pierce will be finding her mojo this weekend at the music festival.
That's right.
She's attending instead of she will be getting into a groove of sorts. We can call it that.
I didn't realize it was for a festival. That's funny.
I'm pretty sure that's what Joe said during the breakdown.
Coachella?
Did you say Joe-Cella?
Coachella.
Okay, never mind. I was like, dang, Trev. Funny joke.
That was quick.
Also, Joe was talking about Evelina and Henna. As we've all said, and Joe reiterated it as well, if they can find their putt, this course could be theirs to pull apart.
It's too big of an if.
What do you think? What are you thinking?
It's too big of an if. They break out. Like one of those two will break out at one point during the season, and then we'll start to think like, okay, like they do throw it so much better than everybody else. So like maybe that is enough. But most of the time it's just not. And like the end of this game, there's a reason people say drive for show, putt for dough. It is so seriously the way that you score in golf. You have to be able to putt. It doesn't matter, unless the rest of the field is bogeying nonstop and you're two putting for par. That's one way to win. But like you're gonna have to score to some extent, and you can't score. You cannot count in this sport. If your range that you're guaranteed to make is only inside of 8 feet, you're not going to be around that often. You're really not. And so you have to be able to putt to score. And I just can't have confidence in players that are just woeful on the putting greens. That's why I have no confidence in my own game.
I am fully in agreement with you on Henna, but I am aboard the Evelina train.
Okay.
There's room for another one if you want to get on. All aboard.
No.
One stop shop. One doesn't matter. We're going to Winterville. No. I'm not picking Evelina to win because Kristen's still in the field, and I haven't lost faith in Kristen yet. But here's the deal: is I think Evelina is where Katrina Allen was a few years ago, where if her putt's on, she's probably going to win. If her putt's off, she's probably going to come in second or third. And that's where Katrina Allen lived for several years, and that's where I'm seeing Evelina. Henna's putt is in where Evelina's putt was last year, which is like you're not looking down at your phone when she's got a 5-foot tap in because you don't know what's about to happen.
It's true.
That's where Henna's putt still is. Evelina's kind of come out of that. I mean, at U.S. Women's, there's several moments where she missed a bad one, right, and then had a 20-foot comebacker, and you're just thinking, here we go. This is what we've seen before historically. This is going to turn into a 4-putt. It's going to get posted on Twitter. And then she would make the 20-foot comeback putt. That happened multiple times where, there was a bad missed putt, but what we haven't seen previously that we did see this year is that next putt is being made a lot more often. So
I think it takes I'm
on the Evelina
train. I think it takes one of those missed comebackers and we're back where we started.
No, I'm on the Evelina train.
Okay.
All aboard. Choo-choo. Finally, Joe brought up the forehand and backhand Anheuser preference on this course. You also mentioned it when talking about Isaac's game a little bit. Obviously, that brings in one player into your mind here, Ohn Scoggins. Do you think this is another chance for Ohn to get another win out here?
I think it totally is. I like Ohn a ton at this course. I think it does play a lot to her strengths, and I think that she is by far the biggest threat to Kristen, probably just going forward this season. At least at this point in the tour. I think later, Missy did get a win at kind of an unusual stop on the tour last week. But I think that for right now, Missy is going to be, or Owen's going to be a big threat to Kristen's game. I think she definitely can win at this course.
Yeah, no. Ohn Scoggins is the most consistent threat, I think. Because I think you know what you're getting out of her.
Yeah.
Right? You know exactly what she's going to do, and you can rely on it. She honestly might even be more consistent than Kristen. It's just she's not consistent at as good. Her ceiling isn't as high as Kristen's.
Right.
But you kind of just know what you're going to get with Ohn. And so I definitely, every weekend, she is kind of that Calvin Heimburg type player in FPO almost. Her and Kristen both were like, last year, you were dumb not to have Calvin in your top 3. This year, you're dumb not to have Ohn in your top 3, I think. Mm-hmm. So I like her for coming in second or third, but where I think Ohn fits, maybe Nate Sexton's a better example if you've been watching disc golf long enough, where Nate Sexton's going to win when the win comes to him You know what I mean? Back in the day, he was like a shoe-in for 6th place.
Yeah.
Like, you knew Nate Sexton was coming in like 6th to 10th every time. But he just played to his game. He did what he could do. And then players who were aggressive and it paid off beat him. But I think that's kind of where Ohn is. Where Ohn is going to stay in her game. She's going to attack the hole she knows she can attack. She's going to play for par the hole she knows she's going to play for par. And some weekends, that's going to be good enough to win. Some weekends, that's going to be good enough for third.
Yeah, I think I would even say, like, I don't know how, it's not super often in the FPO field right now that we could look back at a performance from the winner and say, yeah, they went really aggressive and went out there and took it. Not super often. So I think it puts Ohn in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. Now, after the major last week, remember majors are worth twice the points. I made up some ground courtesy of Evelina Salonen. So I'm now at 16 points. Trevor's at 17 points. Joe's at 18
Unreal.
points. So we are very neck and neck heading into this week's predictions. I'll go ahead and kick it off with my MPO predictions. I went back and forth with this, but there's just too many good players on tour, too many good guys, and we haven't seen Ricky at this course. I don't even know if we've seen the guys I'm about to pick at this course, but this is what my gut told me, so I'm riding with it. I think Anthony Barella gets his second win this weekend.
He played at the course.
I want Calvin Heimburg in second.
Also
and I like the Gooseman. I like Aaron Gossage for my third place here.
He struggled a little bit this season. I mean, not crazy, but okay. I have AB in third rather. I've got Rick in second. I think the vibes carry him to second place, and then I'm going to take Calvin to win.
There you go. We all kind of have a similar vibe to our picks. Joe is taking Calvin to win as well. She's taking Anthony Barella in second, and she's sneaking in Kyle Klein.
I'm the only one giving Rick any credit.
You're the only giving Rick credit.
I think that's going to come back to bite you guys.
It could. It definitely could. But you got to take risks if you want the wins, Now,
true.
on FPO, Joe is going with Kristen Ohn Missy for her top three. I'm also having Kristen and Ohn in my top three, but no surprise here. I'm going Kristen, Evelina, Ohn. I'm riding with Evelina.
I'm going a bit of a different route. I've kind of talked myself into it.
Okay.
I'm going to take Ohn to win.
Oh.
I'm going to take Ohn to win. I have a really...
This might be the first time in how long has it been since someone didn't predict Kristen to win?
I actually have a pretty good feeling about Ohn in this tournament. I think that Ohn's going to win. I'm going to take Missy in second.
No.
And I'm going to take Kristen in third.
I'm propose this.
Okay.
If you knock Kristen out of your top three and she finishes out of your top three, I'll count that as a point.
No, I think she takes third.
Anywhere outside your top three, she could come in fifth, she could come in 50th, she could DNF.
I think she's going to take third. I still think she's going to be in top three, but I think she's going to come in third and be like 8+ strokes off the lead.
Okay. There you have it. Wow. Fascinating. Who's your dark horse pick this week?
Dark horse pick is Mason Ford.
I like it. So he's going with Mr. Texas, Mason Ford.
Very, very good season so far.
Joe must have listened to our segment on debate night about who would look the best in a cowboy hat. Obviously, no one gets a cowboy hat here, but we are in Texas State's belt buckle. This guy would also look fire in a belt buckle. Chris Clemens.
It's true.
And you know what? I'm sticking with him. Nico LaCastro for my dark horse pick. I like him. I like him out here. Why, I don't know. My picks are all gut. They're all just gut check.
All guts.
That's all it is. My picks every week are a gut check, and hey, it's doing me good. I'm in last place. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. Get out there, watch some disc golf, and then we'll check back in to Grip Locked on Monday for a full recap of everything that went down.